I'm not a fan of energy drinks. When it comes to caffeine, I think it's important to remember that caffeine is a legally very socially acceptable drug that people take on a daily basis, right? Similar to alcohol, it's a legal drug, it's a legal chemical. So people kind of forget that you can go overboard with it. For adults, the recommended intake, really sort of the safe upper limit that the government has deemed is 400 milligrams of caffeine, which is between 6 and 8 cups of coffee. Keep in mind a cup is 8 ounces, so I'm not talking about 6 to 8 ounce or 6 to 8 servings of this. As some people go to these coffee shops.
Yeah, 7-Eleven now.
Right, or like it's not 6 to 8 venti Americanos at Starbucks, it's 8-ounce cups of coffee. For adolescents, and adolescents being defined as 12 to 17 years old, the sort of safe upper limit that the government has kind of thrown out there is 100 milligrams. So it's a quarter of that for people that are 18 and over. And there actually is no safe upper limit for kids 12 and under. That's been put out there by the government, right? So it's super easy. I think we live sort of in a day now where it's a lot more socially acceptable for kids to go out and get coffee. Could be wrong. Right next to a Starbucks, right down the road from 3 schools. And it's impossible for me to get a coffee in the morning because it's so packed with these kids, like getting their morning fix. I mean, I can only imagine how much caffeine these kids are consuming, probably a lot over 100 milligrams. And when you think coffee is not the only place they're getting it, right? So it is the energy drinks, it is the sodas. People can think of energy drinks pretty much the same as they think of supplements. And people, these companies do not necessarily have to disclose everything that they're putting into their product on the food label. So it just can't be trusted at face value. You've got to be really diligent about what you're putting into your body. In terms of some of the negative effects of caffeine, you're going to get, especially depending on when the adolescent is consuming the caffeine, is it later in the day? That could disrupt normal sleep patterns, which can disrupt muscle growth, health, brain development, disrupts recovery. So, as far as athletes go, for drinking caffeine too close to bed, forget about, optimal recovery. You're really hindering that. It's a diuretic, can cause a lot of dehydration. It does give you those effects of like a little bit sharper mentally and a little bit more focused, but so does getting an adequate number of hours of sleep per night, right. 8 to 9 hours, which I know is so hard for kids these days, and the workload and these, I don't like more and more. And it's funny. So, I mean, I'm, myself, only 27, but it just seems to me that these teenagers are like more and more like little mini adults with like the stress of the workload, and they've got to stay up until 1 a.m, and then they've got to go to bed, and they've got to wake up early, which means they've got to have their cup of coffee. And it's like, just take a step back. Like, let's focus on getting 8 hours of sleep and then go forward from there is my best advice when it comes to caffeine,